to this very important session, wherein we will be discussing about from hashtags to health, the role that social media can play, how social media can play a proactive role when it comes to a healthier society and nation. So I welcome all my participants and I'll introduce them. Coming to Dr. Dimple. Dr. Dimple is a celebrity Ayurveda and gut health coach. Dr. Dimple, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. It's a pleasure. Next, we have Ms. Lavneet Batra, who is an award-winning nutritionist, health educator, columnist, and influencer. Lavneet, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Neha Ranglani, who is an integrative nutritionist and health coach. Neha, I welcome you to the show.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Next, we have Ms. Vinita Vaswani, who's a nutritionist and a wellness coach. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And today we will be discussing about from hashtags to health, how social media can help in making healthy food choices. Now, before we proceed to the discussion, let me take some time to just showcase and highlight what we have done in the last 3 editions of Bharat Nutrition Week. Yes, this AV will show a light on the impact that we have been able to achieve through this relentless initiative of ours.
Welcome to Mega Bharat Nutrition Week by IHW Council on the occasion of National Poshan Maah.
देश की इकोनॉमी इम्प्रूव होनी चाहिए, अपने देश के हर आदमी को सच्चा डाइट मिलना चाहिए। इस कार्यक्रम के लिए IHW काउंसिल को धन्यवाद देता हूँ।
Food Show will try to understand the health habits and the health threats that we face in our day-to-day life.
We welcome you all to the second edition of the India's biggest virtual quiz on nutrition, the Bharat Poshan Premier Quiz.
Healthy Khayega India.
Yes, that indeed has been an incredible journey where we have been achieving milestones after milestones. Coming back to our today's session, I would first like to come to Vinita ma'am, because when we talk about social media and how this world of social media, influencers and everything is shaping the overall scenario, and when we particularly come to health, it has been playing, especially after COVID, we have seen there have been a phenomenal rise in this kind of, interactive awareness that we see today. So, ma'am, what is your take on, when we talk about social media, how you personally perceive this change?
So, yeah, there has been social media has the potential actually to create that awareness and to change the behavior of, the users. So, yeah, after COVID, it has been a lot more on healthy eating, to build your immunity and for your overall mental health, overall physical, overall well-being. It has worked well. And basically what I feel is that what really works for people is keeping it as simple as possible and as doable as possible, right? So,
Yeah, very rightly you've pointed out how, keeping it simple for more accessibility, for more, availability, because there are people from different backgrounds who are participating. Everybody nowadays have a smartphone, irrespective of the region they are coming from the, economic background, any kind of those barriers have, in fact, they have gone down in a way. Coming to you, Neha, when we talk about social media, and since there's a lot of information, but at the same time, I have seen doctors complaining that patients have become, doctors for themselves. They clearly go to Google and start, Googling things to know what is the issue and all that. So do you think there is a sideline, a negative impact also when we talk about social media and things like that?
Well, yes, I mean, if you ask me, in my opinion, social media is like a double-edged sword. It's amazing. It's amazing to spread the right information. But at the same time, I think it's also putting out a lot of things out there, which is subconsciously changing people in a way and changing their beliefs in a way towards themselves, towards their food habits, towards the way they perceive life and their body. And because of that, I think a lot of people are resorting to a lot of unwanted and unhealthy habits for instant gratification. So while yes, education is important and a lot of people are putting out their time, effort, energy, and their knowledge out there in the best possible way, there's also a lot of loose information that is being shared on social media now, which does not have any backing, which does not have any evidence. And also a lot of people are sharing their own journey and becoming nutritionists and becoming health experts on social media because they got certain results by doing a particular diet or following a particular lifestyle. And they promote that, and their followers are actually just hopping onto that trend or hopping onto whatever they did. But it's so risky and it's so harmful because that may just not be working for their body and in fact damaging them, which may take months and years to undo the effect of. So I think that is for sure. It's in a way, it is negatively impacting the younger generation. And everybody wants to have that kind of a body. Everybody wants to look in shape. It's all about how you look, like visually appealing. And because of that, it is, the mindsets are getting affected. And of course, we all know what we see on social media is not real. The bodies that we see on social media is not real because the angles and the way it's shot, the way the content is put out is in the best possible way. So that is definitely, it has a negative impact to a certain extent.
Right. You very rightly pointed out about how if one person has achieved something through any diet or anything, but when it comes to health, you cannot have a one size fits everyone kind of an approach. Everyone has their own bodies, their own journeys. So very rightly pointed out. And you also talked about misinformation, and I'm going to come to that later in the conversation. How do we counter that? Coming to you, Dr. Dimple, when we talk about, Ayurveda, and since you are a specialist in that field, what do you think, like, how can we, when we talk about going back to Indian practices with 2023 being declared as the International Year of Millets, yoga getting that kind of an attention from all over the world. So what is your take? How can these age-old practices be, can come together through this digital revolution, and they can change and they can help in somewhere, making these practices, Indian health practices, more, into the main discourse of conversations when we talk about health? I think you are on mute. Yeah.
Thank you, dear. So it's a good question. Obviously, how can we make preventive healthcare mainstream conversation? Now, we've been practicing curative healthcare for the last 100 years, and we paid a heavy price for it during COVID. The entire world came to a standstill. We all became antibiotic resistant because of over abuse of drugs, steroids, and antibiotics to the point that our body couldn't function anymore. That's when everybody decided to take a step back, at least most of the people. And they decided that we need to figure out exactly what is the root cause of the disease rather than having a symptomatic approach where you're only treating the symptoms and not the disease. Yoga, Ayurveda, naturopathy, homeopathy, Unani, Siddha medicine, all of these play a very integral role because what they do is they allow you to boost your immunity by plugging you back to nature, the source of life. We've understood now that wheat was healthy at one point in time. Now it's genetically modified. It's not natural. It doesn't take us back to nature. Hence, it is unhealthy. Anything that is artificial, that is, artificially introduced into our body, like say even infusions, for example, iron infusions has become a craze nowadays. Getting an injection, for calcium deficiency or vitamin D deficiency. I'm sorry to say, but if your digestive health is weak, no matter how many infusions you get done, your body is still not able to digest the nutrients, vitamins, and minerals. And now, thanks to the effort taken by the Modi government, hats off to our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, who has brought millets into the picture. He says you don't have to eat wheat. There are millets. There's jawar, bajra, makai, ragi. Even broken wheat in the original form is fine. There's amaranth. Quinoa is the Western version of it. But India has almost 300 varieties of pulses, lentils, legumes, millets. That has all the fiber and the macro and the micronutrients that you need to nourish your body. So it's better to prevent a disease rather than looking for a cure after getting sick. And that's where insurance and hospitals can play a role, because they can help you in cases of an acute condition like a heart attack, a fracture, or an accident. But you don't have to wait for things to become so disastrous that you have to be plugged to a hospital bed and a ventilator to discover what health is. Dr. Alok, who I speak to quite often, he says, we have understood disease, we've not understood health. And that's what happens in the hospitals. We understand disease and we're able to cure it when the situation has gone out of control. But we've not understood how to preserve our health. And this is the era of preventive healthcare, if I might say.
Very rightly pointed out, right? Somebody the other day was at one of our shows was telling that hospitals, we need good hospitals and infrastructures, but at the same time, we need a system that can, that make sure that we do not have to go to a hospital. And this is how the focus is shifting to preventive healthcare, which is the need of the hour. Coming to you, Lavneet, since we are talking about preventive healthcare essentially, and you are a nutritionist, when we talk about social media and the role that it can play in creating this very initiative that we have, Bharat Nutrition Week, it essentially talks about creating awareness at all levels for preventive healthcare. So what is when we talk about social media platforms, and like Neha rightly pointed out, there's a host of misinformation also. So how do we address that?
I think social media definitely plays an important role these days, because many people are spending so much time on social media, right? Their attention is there on social media. But what we need to understand is one aspect of social media that can work wonders is right education. So we need qualified, certified educators, right? But that should not be confused for a prescription or a consultation or a personalized advice. I think people look for answers on social media, whether it's your personal relationships or your health or how to make money. I think these are some areas, or just some entertainment, right? And I feel like food is such an important part of our life. Like, you just can't do away with it. So anything to do with food always catches your attention. But I feel what people need to understand is education from right sources, okay. But even from the right source, don't confuse it for how it works for you, because every body is unique. And then trying to understand what habits you can pick, and versus when it's an alarm to go see an expert and get a personal consultation. There's where the line needs to be drawn.
Yes, very rightly you've pointed out about how you need to have, you need to have that knack for making that change, that this is something that is good for me. This is something that might, hamper my health in the long run. Coming to you, Vinita ma'am, when we talk about social media and not only about healthy eating, but overall, highlighting on the importance of health and how, health awareness campaigns, when we talk about the broader term, how they can add, when we talk about the Indian population, most of them, when we talk about preventive health, we only see a doctor when we have some issue, right? We don't usually go and check our, blood pressure, sugar and all that, unless and until it starts showing on our body. So especially when we talk about the Indian population, you think social media campaigns for awareness change, for behavioral change, what role can, they play, and how important are they when it comes to health awareness?
First of all, it is about awareness, making people aware about taking the care route rather than taking the cure route later on. So creating an awareness, and the awareness has to be created in a way where people can actually relate to it, can actually follow what we are trying to put forward. So we have to keep it like as simple as possible. That's what is my take on it, because people are confused with so many things which are out there, right? For a small thing like they don't know how much, they want to know how much protein they are eating, how much carbs. They complicate it by getting into too many details because they know a lot. So educating them in the right way, that what exactly simple balanced meals look like and how you have to include all the food groups, because your food groups are the basis of your macros, and those are again the sources of your micronutrients. So keeping it very simple and explaining to them, that's very important. I think that should be one focus, because simple things are doable and making it easy for them. And of course, like building like a community where people can actually connect with one another, working on a common goal. Maybe, especially for the youngsters, age is in their favor. So those health issues haven't yet cropped in, which eventually will. So in a very subtle way, in a very doable way, if it's put forward to them about portion control, about eating healthy, they get into details rather than first looking at what is real. They get too much, they want all the details. They want to know what protein, how much, what we should eat, shall we chuck out the carbs? And even something like rice, they call carbs. Something like bread, they call carbs. Rice is grain, right? It's not only carbs, right? So, yeah. And promoting social activity, right? That again is important. So I think those the campaigns really should be focused on helping the overall lifestyle.
Right.
Because it's not only by eating people are putting on weight or getting sick, right? It's the overall lifestyle. So a little bit correction in the sleep and their activity level, and basically just kind of modifying or resetting their lifestyle to lead them to slowly and gradually getting
better health outcomes.
Better health,
right?
Physical and mental health, and all is basically all connected.
Right. Coming to you, Neha, because when we talk about social media platforms, like Vinita ma'am already pointed out that, people want to have this kind of a diet. And you also spoke about that these influencers, social media, on platforms, you see people, they have to have a certain kind of a, body image that people actually, get attracted to. I've seen a number of friends and women, they follow a lot of influencers. They say that, we want to be like them. So do you think there is this dichotomy of when we talk about body positivity and things like that? So there is a kind of clash between the two when we talk about social media platforms, especially influencers and all, because you need to look a certain way, you need to, present yourself a certain way.
Well, yes, I absolutely agree that, when you're in this profession, when you're influencing people, you need to look a certain way. But having said that, that also means that you shoulder a huge responsibility of influencing people who are following you for your knowledge, for your expertise, and they want to blindly do what you're doing. And what's happening here is most people, like I said, are putting out what works for them. But there is no disclaimer that they put out there saying that this works for me, but you need to seek advice of a coach or a professional for your body. What they do is they become the expert, and they just embody that role for some reason. And that is what is causing a problem. And again, if it's an influencer who's promoting healthy stuff, great. But there are a lot of unhealthy habits also that are being promoted. I'm not saying they are unhealthy for everybody, but they need to be done in the right way. So, for example, say if somebody is doing keto. Now, keto may work for you, but for somebody else, it could be absolutely damaging their health. As simple as intermittent fasting, which has become such a rage in the last couple of years, I think our ancestors were doing this forever. 12, 13-hour fast was a normal activity, was a normal way of eating for our grandparents and for our parents.
After sunset, they would stop eating. Yeah.
Yeah, even if it was not immediately after sunset, like say they would eat at 7, 8, they would not eat again anything in the morning till 7, 8. That was a normal way. Now suddenly intermittent fasting got a whole new approach and a whole new, it got so much limelight that now everyone's counting hours, doing stuff for 8, eating for 8 hours, fasting for 16. I mean, all of that is great if you're doing it for a certain reason and under somebody's guidance. I have seen clients who follow intermittent fasting and have got worse with their health. They've got more symptoms because they have so many hormonal imbalances, and intermittent fasting has just thrown their hormones off because it needs to be done in a certain way. And when an influencer says that, oh, I'm doing this and it's working for me, people blindly follow that. And that's where the problem is happening, where you need to disclaim and say that, listen, please, guys, this is mine and this is my experience. You need to try it for yourself and please seek help of an expert because your body is different. Your health issues are different. And that only an expert can, amalgamate and accumulate everything together for you and make an entire holistic plan that works for you and helps you achieve your goals.
All right.
Again, then there are fads and then this comparison. So somebody will put up a plate there and say, oh, I'm eating this. This is my plate. This is what I eat. This is what I eat. But that may not work for everybody. Those portions, that timing, that proportion may not work for everybody. For somebody, wheat may not work. For somebody, rice may just not work. But again, you need to try it for yourself. You need to experiment with yourself. You can't be blindly following your favorite influencer because they look a certain way and you dream to look like them. And then you have this belief that, oh, if I follow what they are doing, I'm going to start looking like them. So I think there's a big gap there. And I think Lavneet rightly said that that education has to be there and and that disclaimer has to be there. Please go and seek help because that's the only way you'll save your time, money, energy, and spare the frustration that you go through with all the trial and errors that you're doing with your body. So I think that's very important.
Right. Dimple, I'll come back to you for more information on gut health, which is a very important part of overall health nowadays. Coming to you, Lavneet, you want to add something to what Neha has said, and when we talk about body positivity and notions like that, and of course, you being a nutritionist and health educator, what is your take? How we can address those gaps of misinformation, as well as when we talk about blindly following your favorite influencers without, getting those desired results when we talk about that?
I think here the desired result is a lot to do with visuals, right? The aesthetics of, so to say, eating right. And I think what we need to address is, and I talk a lot about this, that a skinny person who looks fit might not be fit at all from the inside. There are just so many parameters that defines fitness, And at the same time, somebody who might be overweight for various reasons might be fitter than that skinny person. So I feel no matter how much we try to work on this, it just plays a toll on the psychology of the consumer, a person who's looking at social media. Also to do with how you mentioned that, it's just people take best shots at the best time and then edits and then post it. But I feel like for somebody who's just browsing through these images and comparing their real life with that image, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I had a baby this year and I know like what are the challenges you face when you're pregnant or when you're lactating. And I actually spoke to so many of my clients at a much deeper level after going through that experience, that it is not easy. And it's not to do with just the way you look. I think it's to do with the impact it leaves on your mind. And then that somewhere holds you back from physically taking care of yourself. I think that needs to, that whole idea of self-care that we discuss so much these days on social media, I think we need to generate some empathy about real life situations, on especially for women, what they go through and what they're achieving, and move away from the visuals, the aesthetics of it.
Yeah, Yeah, that indeed was a very, remarkable thing, how you need to, everybody's situation is different, and how you need to empathize with that, how you need to, inculcate the whole your daily routine in a sustainable form of a diet or any other way of living, because nutrition is essentially diet. But at the same time, when we talk about holistic health, it has got a lot to do with stress, physical activity, what all you are doing in a day. Coming to you, back to you, Dimple, gut health is an important aspect of overall health. Even I have seen doctors saying out that gut is as important as your mind, So people put focus on having a healthy, mind and body. But the key lies when we talk about gut health. And since you are from Indian traditions of Ayurveda, and gut health has formed an important part of those narratives. So tell our viewers something about how nutrition and gut is related. What are some of the small things that they can do in their daily lives that will help them to have a better and improved gut health, which will have an positive impact on their overall health in the longer run?
You know what modern scientists call the gut? It's called the second brain. This is where emotions come from. When you feel anxious, scared, excited, nervous, happy, butterflies fluttering in the stomach, where do you feel it? You feel it in the gut first. Because there are more neurons lining the gut walls, and there are neurons in the brain. And neurons are those that allow you to feel, that allow you to sense. And not just that, memories are also stored in the gut most of the times. Because, if you have something that reminds you, say, of your grandmother, you immediately start salivating. Okay, because the memories are stored in your body in terms of sensation, in terms of taste, sight, smell, sound. We perceive information through our five senses, and that information is stored in various parts of the body. If you've had an injury here, sometimes the memory is stored here, right? So the gut is also where most of the memories are stored. Gut is where intuition comes from. It's not just an English slang tagline or something that we use saying that, follow your gut. Intuition indeed comes from the gut. The gut is the second brain because it's directly connected to the brain through a neurosis that sends messages every micromillion second. Even before I click my finger, there are at least 10 messages that have gone from my gut to the brain. If the gut is unhealthy, God forbid, if you have bloating, gases, flatulence, indigestion, hyperacidity, acid reflux, constipation, diarrhea, IBS, your gut is going to turn into a nagging wife, nagging the brain every micromillion second. Can the brain function? Can you focus at a meeting? Can you focus even at a seminar or a workshop if your gut is not healthy, right? You'll have so many distractive noises or information from the gut pulling the brain's attention towards the gut, which is why they say you need to have a very healthy digestive system, a very healthy Agni, which we call in Ayurveda, the Jatran Agni, which makes sure that you're digesting all your foods, absorbing and assimilating all the nutrients, and 100% eliminating all the toxins, the undigested waste, the heavy metals, the preservatives that have got ingested due to malpractices in the manufacturing or the production of that particular grain or whatever that you're eating, right? The gut is the engine for the entire body. The gut is what is supplying nutrition to your brain, heart, liver, kidney, intestine, gallbladder. And your skin and hair also gets nutrition from the gut, but they're the last to receive nutrition, which is why an unhealthy gut starts reflecting on the skin immediately. Your grandmother would say, what is with this? You have pimples and acne. Pet saaf nahi hota hai. That's the first thing they would say. And it's not like they're trying to taunt you or hurt you, but they're literally speaking the facts. They're stating the facts. If you're not eliminating toxins on a daily basis, let me tell you, constipation, unhealthy colon is the root cause of 90% of the diseases in the human body, right from clinical depression to cancer, common cold to constipation. All gynecological disorders, gastrointestinal disorders, psychosomatic imbalances, neurological diseases, skin diseases, musculoskeletal disorders are triggered due to an unhealthy colon. And this is a proven research by Harvard, Stanford, Atlanta, Georgia, Maryland University. Now, research is a byproduct of humanity. But who created humanity? Nature created human beings. Human beings created science to understand the miracles of nature. What nature did, or what our ancestors did by understanding nature, is they created a manual for the human body, which is called Ayurveda in India. And it has different names in different cultures in different countries. Every country, every culture has its authentic preventive healthcare life science. Meet the Native Americans. They have their own preventive healthcare life science. Unfortunately, it has gone, completely out of sight because of lack of funds for research and development, for proving that it indeed works. Now, this is a manual from Mother Nature that tells you how to take care of your health. And in Ayurveda, I'm simply speaking on behalf of Ayurveda because I've spent 6 years researching this subject. I'm sure naturopathy, homeopathy, Unani, yoga, all sciences, preventive healthcare life sciences will stress on the digestive health. And Ayurveda says Jatran Agni is not just the digestive fire, it is also your life force. If your Jatran Agni is down to 0, you're as good as dead. If your body is 0 degrees, you're as good as dead, right? So the digestive fire in your stomach, which is also called Pitta in Ayurveda, is also responsible for your ability to absorb and assimilate information, by the ways. Pitta's in your eyes, Pitta's in your brain, Pitta's in your salivary glands, Pitta's in your blood, Pitta's in your digestive system. If you can't digest the food that you eat, that food is of no use for your body. So always first focus on your digestive health, on your gut health. Your mental health automatically falls into place. Your emotional health, your physical well-being, your skin, your hair, your neurological health starts falling into place. It has been now proven that gut health negatively impacts gynecological health. If it is in a bad state, it has in fact become one of the key triggers for PCOS, PCOD, infertility, and other gynecological disorders. Gut health is directly linked to mental and emotional health because we have 1 trillion plus bacterial cells in our gut, and each cell or each bacteria has a mind of its own. 80% good bacteria or 85% good bacteria, 15% bad bacteria is an acceptable ratio. But if the bad bacteria take over, they also take over your mental health. So your gut health, your gut flora directly impacts your mental health, your emotional health, your energetic health, your spiritual health, and your physical well-being. It begins in the gut, at least for me.
Right. For your holistic well-being, gut health is one of the most, primary pillars. So coming to you, Vinita ma'am, because Dimple, she talked about mental health enough, that how gut health impacts mental health. And when we talk about social media platforms, you think because we Indians are averse to, going for counseling, visiting a psychiatrist, these are things that we actually don't like, we stigmatize, so you think, especially as seen during COVID, there have been an increase in startups and these apps that actually specialize in, mental health, because there you have this condition of anonymity, you're not seeing a doctor as such. You're not seen outside a psychiatrist's clinic. What you are doing is you are assessing your mental health through any form of social media, and where there's this condition of anonymity that is there. So in a way, do you think digitalization, these platforms, they have helped Indians to come in terms with the notion of going for counseling and seeking advice for mental stress, any other mental condition as such?
I think it should be, I don't know how it works actually, right? Because you basically want to connect and talk to someone, right? That's the whole problem. The problem is that you think you're okay, you can find your solutions on your own, but I think meeting a counselor one-to-one has a very different impact. I think that's what's actually it should be. So for everything, we should not depend upon an app, or for your overall well-being, you can't depend just upon an app or something. Right. So yeah, those are the challenges, but I really don't know how people have benefited from it. So I can't comment on that, but I don't think I would like to, promote it or encourage that kind of thing. And
right. In your practice, you must have seen, cases where somewhere down the line, if you are not having nutritionist food, nutrition-rich food or any kind of physical ailment, that can, in the longer run, impact your mental health as such. Like, there was this talk about emotional health. This is all in a way interrelated. You agree with that? Vinita, yes, when we talk about how...
Yes, of course, like very beautifully Dimple just explained, and she explained it so well, that how your gut is actually connected to every part of your body and your overall health and well-being. Basically, you are what you eat. Jaisa ann vaisa tan, jaisa ann vaisa man, So basically you are what you eat, your body, your cells. You've grown from a little child. We feed the child, healthy food, and that's how the body grows. And wo khane se hi bada hota hai, right? And then actually, and that time the parent is taking care of the child, right? So once they are on their own, then it's very difficult to even kind of
control their diet and all. Yeah, so, I've seen parents complaining कि अभी छोटा है, बड़े होके तो फिर इसको यही junk ही खाना है. So right now we can control what they are eating, and it is even said that what in the foundation years, whatever food the child becomes accustomed to will have a impact on his health in the longer run, because I've seen children who don't they were never given cold drinks by their parents, so even after growing up they have not developed that liking for aerated drinks and chips and things like that. So you very rightly pointed out how what you eat, you are what you eat actually. Coming to you, Lavneet, we have talked so much about mental health, emotional health, and how everything is related to gut health. And so anything else you would want to add to the overall, discussion, anything you find have been missed or something that we need to, deliberate on, discuss about? You are on mute, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. Since we're talking about preventive health and we have been discussing this, I think what's very important is a holistic approach, right? Our physical health, mental health, gut health, emotional well-being, all of it, it's one individual that is unique. And I feel that overall assessment is so important. I feel even with preventive health, you do need to understand your body type, not just your body type, where you're living, your lifestyle. It could just vary so much. And based on that, just come up with a code. It can be very simple. It doesn't need to be complicated, like Vinita mentioned, but it just needs to be followed with consistency. That's what is required. I feel like these days people are always looking for out-of-the-box solutions that look very exotic, and only when they do something that is very extraordinary, they will feel better, or very expensive, they will feel better, but it doesn't need to be like that. I think creating a simple plan for yourself that you can feel happy about, raise a family with, is very important, at least when it comes to preventive health and food, because without food, nutrition, there is no preventive health.
All right. Right. So you have put in very beautifully that how, it has to be, diets and nutrition, changing your habits. It has to be something sustainable. Like I have seen people, just not taking proper meals and all for months. And then when they leave that kind of a thing, they go on this eating spree and then gaining a lot of weight again. So your solutions have to be sustainable in that sense, something that you can carry on for the rest of your life, and not even for the rest, for another 5-10 years in a way. So coming to you, Neha, when we talk about, good health, nutrition, sustainable diets, what about especially millets? When we talk about 23 being the year of millets, so it is said that they are good for the environment too, because sustainability is not, fully, you cannot fully stress on it unless you take the whole environment together, So what is your take on that?
I'm a huge fan of millets. When I'm at home, I don't eat wheat. I make sure that I kind of get in millets, at least 1 or 2 millets through the day. And it's just because I feel anything that's eaten too repetitively, I always tell my clients, I said, it's not what you eat sometimes that affects your health. It's what you eat each day, every day, and every meal that's affecting you. So figure out what is it that's causing the problem, because I'm all about the root cause, trying to understand where is your problem cropping up from. So I see a lot of clients just eliminating wheat from their diet, the modern wheat today. Half of their problems vanish. So when you talk about millets and their sustainability, of course, they grow in any place and they don't need too much of compliances to grow. So I feel definitely they add to the environment, they add to your health. They're naturally gluten-free. They're naturally high on minerals, which I think most people are not emphasizing on. I think I always say, I said, protein is considered as the god of nutrition. I just don't understand why, because yes, it is one macronutrient. It's needed. It's as equally important as your carb and your fat. But why only so much emphasis on protein? And like people's world starts and ends on protein. But nobody's talking about minerals. Nobody's talking about how those minerals actually help you utilize your protein in your body for all the reactions, for all the muscle synthesis, for all the repair work that's happening. You need those minerals for that to happen. So your millets are naturally rich in all the minerals, your iron, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus. So you don't really need to take too many pills when you include good quality millets, provided you cook them well, you soak them, you remove the anti-nutrients from them and you use them. It's great for your gut. It feeds the good bacteria in your gut. You have good guys growing in there, good serotonin, better mental health, better emotional health. Besides that, I've been a vegan for the last 6.5 years now. So when you talk about sustainability, I also feel it's not only the millets which need to be, emphasized, which people are doing. And thanks to our honorable Prime Minister who's done that and who's brought it out in the limelight. And people are now embracing it in their day-to-day lives. I also feel cutting down on your dairy and your animal food makes a huge impact to the environment. You're literally doing a favor to your environment by choosing to go more plant-based. I'm not saying everyone has to turn vegan. I'm not saying everyone has to go that route, because it's a calling and it's done with a very deep purpose. But if you can consciously and with awareness reduce your intake of meat and meat products and milk products, you're really doing a lot good to the environment, to your own gut, to your own health. Because the kind of meat and meat products and the milk and milk products we're getting today is causing so much harm. We're not living in the Krishna era. We need to realize that, right? We're not even living in our grandmother's era. Things were clean, things were pure, things were what you ate what you saw, and nothing was hidden.
Right.
Today, everything that you're eating is hidden. What you see is just 10% of what you think is to be true, but a lot of it that's coming to you has a lot of ingredients and additives that your body doesn't recognize and doesn't know what to do with it. So it gets stored as toxins in your body. Your body can't process it, can't metabolize it, can't excrete it, doesn't know what to do with it. So I think when you talk about sustainability, you need to look into a lot of things that you're choosing and how it's affecting your own pocket first to start with, because is it sustainable? How expensive it is? And people think going plant-based, going vegan is expensive. Well, it's not. It's not. Your dal chawal, your idli sambar, your dosas, your khichdi, your everything is vegan. For that matter, you could make vegan pastas, vegan noodles, vegan everything. So it's the choices we make, and what we choose impacts the environment, because it's all about demand and supply. The more we demand the wrong things, the more the government is supposed to supply us with that, and the more we are affecting our environment. So if we consciously reduce our demand for these things, we're doing our bit for the environment as well as for our body, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, awareness does create, like you said, that people have a lot of concepts about things, that being vegan, being organic for that matter, is heavier on your pocket, which is not the case. Yeah. So, very rightly you pointed out how, so we are just, at the end of the discussion. So I'll just ask all of you to give some of the, important insights related to the topic, how, because you've talked about misinformation and also how, going back to basics, having organic diets and all that, intermittent fasting for that matter, it has all become a fad as such, thanks to social media. But at the same time, it was something that we used to practice 100 years back. If we look at how our ancestors used to live, so how these kind of things, they have got a fillip once again, and thanks to social media. Coming to you, Vinita ma'am, now you like to sum up the whole discussion. Any insight that you would want to share with us as a parting note on how, we can use social media for proper implementation of healthy diet, healthy habits, and sustainable world in the longer run?
I would still come back to the same thing, keeping it as simple as possible so that it's easier for people to actually follow.
Right, right.
Like Neha said, people want to eat fancy things. They don't realize our idli, dosa, dal, chawal, and a simple home cooked food is so much more nutritious than what actually we see, all those fancy vegetables and a lot of protein. People are all the time focused and obsessed with protein.
Protein shakes and all. I've seen youngsters going crazy.
And all those things. So basically, when I do a lot of group community activities where people connect together and each one contributes in, you learn when you listen to people's stories, right? So I think we should come back to basics. I promote walking. Now, again, I get a lot of things like, okay, why not weight training? Why not this? Okay, ठीक है, पहले चल तो लो थोड़ा सा घर से बाहर निकल के चल तो लो पहले, फिर उसके बाद जिम, क्योंकि जिम ये सब सही है, बट सस्टेनेबल नहीं है कि because if you're not going to the gym, then you're doing nothing at all.
Right.
You're just, so keeping it as simple as possible. And I think even the food part, right? Basically, people are addicted to kind of eating fancy foods, right? So they believe that that's healthy and it has to be very expensive. And I think ki jitna simple rakho, as simple as possible, I think it's easier to follow.
Yeah, so it is indeed a simple advice, but a very impactful one in the longer run.
Difficult to follow, actually.
Yeah. Yes. So coming to you, Dimple, what would be your parting words for our viewers?
Well, hearty congratulations to the panel, for putting together such an amazing discussion and for introducing me to Neha Ranglani, Lavneet Batra, and Vinita Vaswani. I really admire the ideas that they brought. Neha, congratulations for understanding the vegan culture and embracing it. It took me 3 attempts to finally become vegan. The first 2 times I failed and I went back to eating ice creams and having dairy. And, it's such a beautiful concept that nutrition and health is not just physical. It's mental, emotional, and spiritual and energetic. The food you eat becomes what you are going to, give back to the world. You become what you eat, you become what you think, you become what conversations you have with your friends. You're the sum of all the things that you've consumed through your eyes, nose, ears, mouth, and through your senses. And unfortunately, this is a Kalyug, right? So you have to be very careful with the filters that you put around you. If cows are going to be kept in factories, they're not going to give you Amrit. Right. These pus and blood and estrogen and hormones and all the steroids they've been injected with into that milk. How can we possibly consume that? Okay, it's a morality decision that you have to make. And there are 8 billion human beings in the world. Do we have 8 billion cows to feed 8 billion human beings? If the milk has to be consumed, it has to be from a cruelty-free cow farm. Let's save it for the children, for the infants whose mothers are not able to produce enough milk. Let's save it for the senior citizens whose bodies are probably degenerating faster than expected. Let's save it for those who need it. We don't need it. Honey again. It takes one honeybee an entire lifetime to produce just half a teaspoon of honey. Do we really need it? That one lifetime of that honeybee has gone into that 1 teaspoon honey. Do we really need it? Let's save it for the children who probably are suffering from allergies, from pollen grains. Let's save it for the senior citizens who probably need it because they're going through discomfort. We, between the age of 16 to say 60, are in the warrior phase of our life. It's called the Pitta phase in Ayurveda. You're able to regenerate, broken muscles, tissues, teeth, nails, and hair much faster than anybody else. You don't need to heavily rely on protein drinks that have packaged life or preservatives, because if it can survive on the shelf for 6 months, remember, it can survive in your gut also for 6 months. And your stomach is not a graveyard for the dead. Choose kindness in every morsel of food. Like, Miss Vinita said, keep it simple, keep it natural. Like Miss Lavneet said, like Miss Neha said, let's plug back into the source of life, which is Mother Nature. We come from nature, we go back to nature, and from birth to death, the in-between phase is also controlled by nature. So let's be respectful of that, of what we're made of: earth, water, fire, air, space. Give gratitude to the universe, to the to the nature, to our parents, to our teachers for creating us, for teaching us how to be good human beings. And let's ensure this kindness in every morsel, every bite that we take. It's impossible for the body to get sick when you consume kindness. So that's from me. And thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Dimple. Thank you. You have indeed inspired me to switch to a vegan diet. Coming to you, Lavneet, you want to add something, your point on how, empathizing with the person's situation and motherhood. And because this is something that we, tend to miss when we talk about. The other day, one of my colleagues was asking me, why don't you exercise? And, I go to a park but I call it all male privilege, because I told him it's your mother who, gives you the breakfast, and while I'm on the other side of the table serving the whole family and doing stuff, so very rightly pointed out, empathy and empathizing with the other person's situation before you you can understand what kind of diet they need, what kind of sustainable habits they need to have. That indeed was a very welcome point that you raised.
Thank you. And just adding to that, I feel every individual is a unique body, but like I said, they have a unique situation. So to analyze and assess your own situation is very important, especially when you're trying to work on your on your health and looking at preventive health habits to include in your day-to-day life. So just make that analysis. It's a one-time effort you can do in 3 months and take one step at a time. I feel like people have this urgency to just do a makeover in few days. Don't have that urgency. If you have had few habits for years and decades, how do you expect your body to just have that makeover in few weeks? I think, and that leads to frustration. And starting from the whole idea should be taking care of yourself rather than trying to look a certain way or trying to mimic someone else's style or persona or body. Just start at one step of taking care of yourself in a better way. It could be anything. It could be a simple goal like that we've been talking about, that, okay, today I'll sit less and walk more, or today I'll eat my meals on time, or today I'm just going to give myself 1 hour to just reflect and sit and read my book. I think just starting slowly and with an attitude of self-care rather than just goal-driven, frustrated cycle people become part of.
Right. Very rightly pointed out. Neha, you would want to add something?
Yes, I actually had a great time today's session, because it's always great to talk to like-minded people and people who have the synergies when it comes to health and wellness, and it just helps you go back to a lot of concepts in your own mind and rethink about certain things. So it's amazing. I've had a great time, and I actually agree with what Vinita said, to keep it simple, because life is simple, but we complicate it. We really complicate it. And with social media, we're complicating it even more. Though it's amazing to have as many influencers on social media that we have today, the more, the better. But I feel the quality matters, right? So you need to have more quality people talking about the right stuff. And all I would want to tell people is you can follow as many influencers as you want. You can take up suggestions of as many people as you want. But remember one thing, you are a unique person, like Lavneet said. You are that body, and nobody has the body you have. Nobody has the soul you have. You're the unique soul, right? So you need to give yourself that gift of individualizing your health goals and your health journey. And that's extremely important, because we all have this innate ability to heal ourselves. Our body has this beautiful power to come back to equilibrium. All that we are facing today is an imbalance. Our body is not broken, it's not diseased, it's nothing. It's just trying to cope up with the environment you're providing it. And it's trying to do its best. Your body loves you more than you love it. Because right now, while we are talking, it's doing so many things that we are not aware of. We don't have to tell our body to do something for us. It's doing it. It loves us. It wants us thriving. But we are just surviving because we are providing an environment where the body's not able to keep pace with all the complications that we are bringing along with our lifestyle, right? So I think just understand the belief that you can heal yourself and walk on the right path, because your body is this precious temple. It's really that one vessel you have to get through this lifetime. Do not abuse it. Do not make it a guinea pig and do trial and errors on it. Understand what works for you and you will literally become your highest and your best version, your best self. And from there, you will manifest your best life.
Right.
Because you are that energy. So when you focus on yourself, when you focus it in the right way, by taking the right guidance, by taking the right professional help, and following the right thing for your unique, beautiful soul, you are going to become an unstoppable being. And that is extremely important, and people need to understand that. It's not about a fad diet. It's not about a particular exercise. It's about treating yourself with utmost respect, love, care, and then show out in the world and do something better for the world, because you are that vessel. You're here to do that. So do that. And you can only do that when you work on yourself.
Right.
So that's what I would want to tell people.
Right. So yes, today's was an insightful, discussion with so many beautiful women there discussing about good health and everything. And I hope our viewers, they will be taking away a lot of relevant information, keeping it as simple and sustainable as possible, and it's not about just following some fad or someone blindly. It's about self-care, taking care of yourselves and becoming a better version of yourself, and how holistic health is linked to everything from your physical, mental, and emotional being to the planet also. So thanks for being there with us, and I hope that our viewers are taking note of everything being discussed today, and this discussion will enrich their life in ways more than one. And I hope to see you all again, and thanks to all our panelists for being there and for discussing and sharing their beautiful insights on the topic. Thanks.
Thank you so much for having. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And for our viewers, stay tuned for the next episode, where we'll be discussing about women and child health. Keep safe, keep yourself happy, and that's all.